a single-car team.
Brad Keselowski won this race.
500. And Delano, there are the Wood brothers. Oh, my goodness. First win in 10 years.
Side by side. Come on, Lord. Hangs on.
Norm was not going to be denied.
And we did it. Yeah!
Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Also Ram broadcast. We have got a great show for y'all today. We're bringing on Mike Harmon, a name you may be familiar with, a personality from the sport for years now. These days, he's not behind the seat of a car or truck. These days, he's putting other butts in seats. Those who show up and have some sponsorship money and need a wheel to steer. And they have the drive and desire, just like Mike did when he was still running, and still does. The desire never goes away. You still want to be at the track, on the track, and competitive. So we had a really good conversation with Mike, and we touched on a few topics. Hopefully I asked some questions that piqued your interest. And obviously, we had to talk about that crash. And part of the show is our faith in the Lord above and how he is working around us at all times. And to see Mike stand up and walk away from that crash was truly the Lord's hedge of protection around him, doing miraculous things. So the window popped up. There's my producer, Josh. What's going on, Josh?
What's up? Nothing, man. This is really cool. It was really cool to talk about a little bit about his faith. I enjoyed, obviously, being my full-time job as a police officer to hear all the things that he's done to hopefully prevent suicide of first responders and of the military. Actually, I don't fit in it anymore, but I have a T-shirt from probably, I don't know if it was 2020, but it was when Balicki drove his 47 car, and I bought it was a Back the Blue car, and that was the first time I ever saw a police-supported sponsor on the hood. So I bought it just to support them, and I think that all the money, the proceeds, went to some type of charity that was helping law enforcement in some way. But so ever since then, I've kind of kept tabs with Balicki. If I were to watch a race and, he was racing, I'd kind of pull for him. I mean, he's always been kind of in, lower end equipment that, never really had too many good shots. But he seems like a good dude. And so, yeah. And what else? It was a really cool conversation where, it's kind of stuff that we talked about off camera. But, it's crazy to see, these underdogs that show up to the shop every day, and they're coming in with faith that they're going to be able to make it to Daytona, because if they don't have the money of sponsors, they're not going to be there. So that's exactly what this show is about, is highlighting the underdog struggle. And so I'm really glad to be able to bring him on, and hopefully maybe we can bring on some of his drivers later in the year.
Hey, I'm stealing y'all away from other Derek for a second so I can tell y'all about our brilliant sponsor, Gray Before Shave. Gray Before Shave offers everything you could possibly need for your hair up there. They've got oils, balms, butters. They've got waxes for your mustache, shampoo, conditioner. There's so much stuff. I don't have the time to sit here and tell you about everything. Head over to their website, graybeforeshave.com. See something you like, take it to the checkout. Before you check out, apply the code ALSO-RAN for 15% off your purchase. If you're undecided on which scent is right for you, they have an excellent bundle of oils that has one of each of their brilliant scents. I prefer the Pumpkin Smash. My wife absolutely loves their brand new Liquid Gold. It smells like adult bubble gum. That's the only way I can think to describe it. So head over there, graybeforeshave.com. Find something you like, check it out, use our discount code ALSO-RAN for 15% off. You won't be disappointed. Now, back to that other handsome bearded fella. And if y'all are watching this and you want to hear more stories from the world of the underdogs, or as we prefer to call them, also rans, because nobody's an underdog, they just have different opportunities. If you want to see more of this, then make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. If you're listening in the audio realm, make sure you give us a rate and review. let us know what we're doing wrong and what we're doing right. And hopefully we bring y'all some content that y'all thoroughly enjoy and you want to see more of. But that having been said, yeah, it was interesting. You do these interviews and then you have post-interview conversations. And, I don't think people realize enough what sponsorship money does. To put a butt in the seat, to put a car on track. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes with a guy like Mike and his team where, sometimes they have to look at the cost of shipping on a part. And, I don't think twice about it. Usually if I order something, I go with the random shipping speed, the cheapest price possible. But, comparing his team to some of these other teams, if they need a part from Sweden, they're going to expedite it and get it within 2 days by paying an exorbitant amount of money for it. Where somebody like Mike Harmon, that's something you actually have to strongly consider. Side topic for a brief second, that's one of the reasons why I was really anxious to try to get Grade Before Shave to do something with us, because they're not a company that is involved in the sport yet. I would like to see that change. I would like to see y'all go check out gradebeforeshave.com, find a product over there you want, support a company that's not making hundreds of millions of dollars through corporate ads and whatnot. Small company out of San Bernardino, and they make quality product for quality prices. Check out gradebeforeshave.com. Don't forget, if you find something you like and you're checking out, when you find something you like and you're checking out, use the discount code also-RAN for 15% off your purchase. Because we want to get companies like that, companies that, they may not have hundreds of millions of dollars, but they're willing to spend their money in the sport that we love. Yeah, I can't tell you how many products I've used in the past or how many products are in my shower right now that are there strictly because at one point in time their logos or their branding was on a race car, was on a 200-mile-an-hour billboard. So I'm sure it's the same way with Josh.
Yep. I still shop to this day. In fact, my first job was Lowe's because of Jimmy Johnson, because I was a fan of Jimmy and I hated Tony Stewart. So to this day, I did work for Lowe's part-time for 7 years when I went to college, but I am a Lowe's guy.
How many years?
7. And
wow.
my first year was 2006. So, I'm not saying I'm good luck, but I'm saying I'm good luck. So it was when his dynasty started. So, but yeah, so definitely I product placement is everything, and it sticks with you, especially if you spend a lot of years wearing their T-shirts. So
y'all need to pay attention to this stuff. So when a guy like Mike Harmon shows up and he's got Save 22, know that there's other organizations out there like Save 22 that exist solely to save the lives of those who do everything they can to provide us with safety and freedom every day. Be it overseas or at home, in olive drab uniform or behind a badge. There's certain months, I think February is a month that we acknowledge that too many veterans on the streets or in the sand, make it home and they don't all come back. They don't come back in one piece, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally. And that is a battle that the media needs to acknowledge, more than some of the, they'll sensationalize some of the stuff going on. This morning I saw that we started bombing Venezuela, and there's things that go on behind the scenes that we don't know about that we need to be more aware of. We need to put our finger on the pulse of society, of what's going on around us at all times, and more importantly than anything else, we need to remember to pray unceasingly. We have an all-knowing, all-loving God that is around us at all times. And if you're going to go to your knees, if you're going to fall to your knees and you're going to seek our Lord out, be sure to pray for others. More importantly, it's important.
That is true, man. Well, like you said earlier, before we introduce our guest on, Please like, subscribe, comment, all the good things there on the social media. Even though Shoe Show has been around for a while, this is still kind of an up-and-coming channel. So rate and review also on the audio realm, and we just appreciate you guys watching us. So
I guess without further ado, Producer Joshua, should I introduce our guest?
let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. Mike Harmon on the Also Ran broadcast. Hey y'all, welcome to the Also Ran broadcast. I brought with me a special guest today, Mr. Mike Harmon. Mike, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
So how were your holidays?
They were really good. Spent a lot of time with my mom and family, and that's always good because racing takes you away from family a lot.
Yeah, and obviously you've been busy, man. I noticed last season you had some guys in Trucks and Xfinity.
Yeah, we ran back and forth some where we thought we could do the best, and we were busy, but I'd like to be busier. I'd like to be doing more. I'd like to be in the Xfinity series. Well, I'd like to run more Xfinity races than what we did, but we'll see how it goes this year.
So I was curious. I've been interested in the sport for a while, watched it, talked to lots of people. As a matter of fact, I talked a good bit with Carson Ware when he was at the track at Talladega in October. What dictates for you whether or not you run a truck or Xfinity car at a specific track for a specific weekend?
Well, it depends on how large the fields are, what the sponsorship we got to run that weekend, whether it be truck or be the car, and it depends on what drivers available with some sponsorship. We're that good where we ran both of them at Phoenix. That was really, I really enjoyed doing that. Just same place, and it's not easy, but it's a lot easier to do it when they're both at the same place.
Now, do the sponsors, do they step up and tell you what they want to do, or is it they kind of give you the package and you say, here is what is best for you on this specific setup?
Well, most sponsors got certain races that they want to do, when you don't have your own deal, and that's what really we go by. It's what races they like to pick and choose, So that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, as a guy who's only been watching the sport since the early 2000s, I've enjoyed watching what you do. I enjoyed the fact that you were one of the last guys out there that was running the Dodge equipment. I'm a big-time Mopar guy. Once I saw what you did for Carson Ware last year, you had Carson Ware in a car. Spoke very briefly with Caleb Costner. He's a good guy. So the fact that you're putting people like that behind the wheel, giving them an opportunity to get out there on track, that means a lot to me as a fan. So thank you for that. Just briefly, if you don't mind, for those people that are only familiar with you from the spectacular crash that you had, which we'll touch on in a second, can you give the viewers or the listeners, speaking of which, make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, you like, subscribe, comment, let us know if we need to change something up. And if you're listening in the audio realm, make sure you do what you got to do over there. Give us a rate and review. But anyways, so Mike, what got you to where you are? What is, when Mike was little Mike in Alabama, what sparked your interest in racing?
Well, my dad raced some when I was really young, and we go to the shop, and in order to keep up with me, he just set me in the seat of the race car while they worked on it. So I guess that was the very beginning. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I just always watched him race, and I just like cars, like speed, and as crazy as it sounds, also the danger part of it turned me on too. And I grew up, I knew of the Allisons and Red Farmer. I watched them race as a child, and that was a big inspiration to me. And raced against them later in life, and actually worked worked with Red. Red was my crew chief. Red Farmer was my crew chief in 96, 95. And we did really well with super late models in Alabama. I raced there 20 years, a lot of success, 5 or 6 championships, NASCAR Sun Belt region champion. And my dad taught me before he passed away, you got to conquer where you're at to move to the next level. So we just kept working our way up. And through Arkin, ran Bush when it was Bush. And the higher up you go, the more money it takes, the more sponsors it takes. And of course the competition's higher. Everybody's got what they need. And it's tough, but I was old enough when I made the transition that I could do it, because I was running late models and stuff like that. If I didn't win, I wasn't happy. So I was, you can't win every week. You just make sure you get the best out of the equipment you got there at the track that week. And that's kind of, I just never want to do anything else. I don't do it halfway. I'm going to do whatever it takes to continue on and stay in the sport.
So seeing that you did run trucks and you run Xfinity, what about I guess now it's the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. What about that series makes you want to stay there with what you're bringing?
Well, the management Eric Peterson doing a great job, and his guys, and cars, to me, I just like racing cars better than trucks, because that's what it started out as cars, and I don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the trucks, but I just like the cars. Like that series, they run more often. They run a different variety of tracks. I guess I'm just used to doing that more. I just like it, and I like the engine package way better in a car than what's in the truck, because you're allowed to do the engine work yourself, and in trucks you're not. So that makes it a little tougher on us. It might help the larger team, but it makes the smaller team suffer. So, and the way it does me anyway. So that's my biggest thing.
Now, something that we talked about your crash earlier, and part of the reason Josh and I started this show is because we believe that God's working around us at all times, and just because sometimes you don't see Him working and you don't actually, your senses aren't telling you that something is going on over there. Sometimes we need something like what happened in your crash to kind of anchor us in reality and say, oh my goodness, that was definitely a miracle. Just to kind of get it out the way, because like I said, that's what sadly that's what most people know you for. People that casually come in the sport and they see that and they don't have the interest to get to know Mike Harmon. That's part of the reason we wanted you on. But what can you tell us about what happened with that crash and how it's affected you since?
Well, we had a flat tire, and it wasn't flat; it was soft. And I just went on the racetrack in turn 3 and came down the front straightaway, and realized the tire was soft. Of course, the car wouldn't turn like it should. Couldn't keep it on the bottom, and I didn't want to go straight into the wall, so I kept trying to work it around where it would hit the wall flatter and not do as much damage. I didn't know that the gate was going to come open, and I really didn't even remember the gate being there. But after it did, and I saw the video, I remember the gate. But anyway, the gate wasn't properly secured, and it came open. Cut the car in half long ways, and I was very, very blessed not to get injured. And then Johnny Sauter came along, and I'm glad it was somebody of his caliber, because he drove away from the wreck instead of putting on the brakes and sliding right into me. And of course that saved me too. And since that day, which trust me, I've had crashes, and I had a crash in '95. I got me out of the car unconscious at Homestead, very first day they opened. But that's one that everybody knows. And but I've had crashes before that was not as ugly, but they were a lot They were just as close as getting injured. But, you just got to put your faith in God and believe in what you're doing and go forward, and be, Michael Walker had the same crash, and we talked about it, and we both know we're living on bonus time, and both of us are very appreciative of that. And any race car driver is to a certain extent that you got to be willing to risk it all to do this. And it was people wondered how come I got back in the car the next day after Bristol. Well, actually, I got in 3 hours later after I got the fence repaired, but in somebody else's car. But I knew that could happen 25 years ago at the time when I started, and I was willing to accept that. So I never thought about it.
So let me ask you this: being a tough racer, coming out of a crash like that, what type of racers did you enjoy racing around? Like when you were still active and racing, were there guys that when you were on track, like that just totally made it absolutely worthwhile to be where you were and made you just thoroughly enjoy what you were doing?
Well, you enjoy racing and outrunning people and being friends after the race or shaking each other's hand and doing it the right way, win. Who's got the fastest car and the most ability to win the race. And when I was younger, and all of us was that way, had more respect for the equipment and for the other driver, and even for the guys working on the cars. You didn't crash somebody to win, and you didn't do I hate the bump run. Because back in the day, you bump somebody out of the way to win a race, then you kind of got that head bump after the race. And I just, it's eye for eye the way I see it, and I don't like it today. Some of the blocking is okay, but when you're blocking and crashes the whole field, it's one race is not worth that. And these cars are so safe that they're too brave in them. I mean, back as late as the 2000s, the cars wasn't near as safe as they are nowadays. And the guys didn't do these kamikaze moves that they do now and just destroy equipment because they feel like they're not going to get hurt. But you can get hurt with a freak deal. It is really. I feel like it's safe. I know it's safer than it's ever been, especially with Xfinity cars and the trucks. I'm not familiar enough with the new car to talk about it, but the guys keep surviving the crashes. I see that. So that's just respect each other. Let the guy with the fastest car win, or the most ability. It don't take much ability to knock somebody out of the way.
Now, how much does that dictate? Like, say a young guy comes to you and he's got sponsorship money, and the sponsor wants to run a specific track. How much of their on-track personality dictates whether or not you'll actually put them in a car? Like what is the cutoff point between this is a good amount of money and no, you're not going to get in my car and you're not going to tear up the equipment?
Well, most of the guys that I let drive, they gotta want it as bad as I want it, and they got to be willing to risk it all. But they also have got to race the guys like they raced them. You don't initiate bump and runs and that kind of stuff, or crash somebody to win. But I don't. I'm not about that. I understand that. You got to respect their equipment, our equipment, and the drivers and the guys, everybody involved really. And I demand that. And so far, it's all worked out good. And never really had a problem with anybody. And had quite a few good drivers come through here, and then go on to other things. And some didn't go on. They didn't know how good they had it till they left. But that's all. It's just a chance you take. But you got to have respect everybody and everything to do this. The official NASCAR, on and off the track, and then race people the way you want to be raced.
Now, the plethora of drivers that you've had drive for you, are there any drivers that have come and sat in the seat of your Xfinity car or your truck that you were just not necessarily amazed with, but that impressed you to the point to where like you've kind of followed their career path and you kind of can take pride in the fact that you gave them a chance in one of your seats?
Yeah, I mean, I keep an eye on all of them, try to stay in contact with most of them. Most everybody left here on good terms. I really, and I raced against him some. I really was proud to have Bailey Curry here. He did a good job, worked on the car, drove the car well. And we actually raced against each other some. And when you do that, you know what a guy's made out of. He's one of my favorites. And Dawson Cram is the latest guy. He's got a lot of talent. His dad raised him right, and as far as the racing goes, and had him in a car since he was about 5 or 6 years old or some type. And he knows how to work on cars and how to drive them as a young guy. So that's two that stick out. Cody Ware drove for me some. He runs Cup every week. Does the best he can with what he's got there. And there's a lot of other ones. I'd have to make a list of them, but they have to have some ability to get in the car. I've let one or two guys in the car. I knew they didn't have enough ability, and the last time that happened, I lost the car, never got fixed, and I swore I'd never do it again. You got to have some ability, in my opinion, to be at this level. If you don't deserve to be here, I'm not going to do it.
Now, being that producer Joshua there behind the scenes puts on a badge and a vest when he goes to work, what are some of the sponsors that you've had? Because I know you mentioned Bailey Curry and some of the sponsorship that I thoroughly enjoyed seeing on the cars. What are some of those types of sponsors that have meant the most to you as far as, giving them, you're talking about drivers and people around the sport that don't get the spotlight. When a sponsor approaches you and they're on your car, that's their chance to shine. What are some of these organizations that came to you that you were most proud to be able to do for them and for the Men in Blue, and the firefighters and whatever organizations are out there? Which the ones that I guess you could say you're the most proud of?
Well, I was proud of the back, the blue car. It's just like, respect carries away from racing as anywhere else. You got to respect the police officers, the first responders, people that save our lives every day, and we don't even realize it. A lot of people don't realize it. And I'll get in a race car, run 300 miles an hour, but I'm not going to put a vest and a badge on and go to work unless I have to. That's just not me. And I respect people that do that. To me, it takes a lot more nerve and guts to do that than it does drive a car fast. And I appreciate that, what they do for us very much. Even though I probably had 20 speeding tickets in my life. But I didn't get one I never deserved. But then we got to save 22. That we got 22 veterans a day that commit suicide. That's terrible. And that we couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for our military and our veterans. Just risk it all, gave it all, and met a lot of people disabled. That's heart wrenching. And definitely don't people killing themselves for what they've been through. So proud to represent them and do what needs to be done, or try to. And we, at last count, we've been involved in saving 51 people from suicide, is what I was told. And then, that's a good feeling. And just the military, being involved with Charlie Daniels and his deal before he passed away and some afterwards, that was, I really thought that was neat because I've heard it, known Charlie Daniels all my life. And what he does, and his organization does for the veterans is really neat. And I'm really proud to do that with them. And just sponsors like that do it for not just monetary reasons, They do it.
Amen.
Appreciate what we got and why.
Yeah, amen to that. We definitely need people to step up and help those that so selflessly help us. When they come to a call, they don't know what call they're coming to. It could be their last, or it could be a call that saves somebody's life and affects the rest of their life. That having been said, this is a section of the Also Ran broadcast that we call the white flag. This is going to be just a little bit of time to where if you've got something coming up in 2026, if you've got something that you want to bring up and mention to somebody somewhere or whatever, that this is going to be your time to say what you want about what you've got planned or what you got going on. And the white flag is yours, sir.
Thank you. Well, we're prepared to run trucks or Xfinity. We don't have a driver with sponsorship right now. For a full season, we got a few races that we will run. They're sponsored already. And you don't be surprised if you see us at some market races. Of course, we're always looking for sponsorship. And my website my email is Mike Harmon Racing 74 at Gmail. You can reach me there anytime. And we got our website, Mike Harmon Racing. And we just out here want to have fun, race, enjoy life, and appreciate what we do.
All right, amen to that. Definitely, I like watching y'all out there, and I like watching these new young kids come up. So, thanks for doing that for these guys. Thanks for putting cars on track for fans like myself and my producer Josh to watch, make those left-hand circles, because there's nothing more fantastic than that. I want to thank you for coming on the show, chatting with us, giving us some of your precious time. And I want to remind the viewers and the listeners, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the Also Ran broadcast. And if you're listening in the audio realm, if you got your earbuds in or your earphones on, make sure you rate and review. Let us know if there's something we could do to make this better. Send us some of your suggestions if there's somebody you want to see on the show. In the meantime, Mike, good luck in 2026, and thanks for coming on board, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it anytime, and we appreciate all the fans out there and the support they give MHR and any racing, really.
All right. Well, this
Thank
is
you
the
very
point
much.
where I tell all the fans out there, keep your wheels down, your eyes on the crown, and we're going to hand it off to Corey LaJoy.
Let me read Hebrews 12:1 real quick. Therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw up everything that hinders and the sin so easily entangles. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let's freaking go.